GERE
The following is a presentation of the GERE Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, this podcast is sponsored by our store through Amazon. If you visit shopgear.com, please remember to do that, because when you do, you provide gasoline to the engine known as GERE Radio Network, and that helps this podcast continue. It is the best way to shop for yourself, and is the best way to support this podcast. Now, on with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast.
And with that, we welcome you to episode 118 of the Better Live Than Dead podcast, our MLB Previewcast. It's almost like a yearly thing now.
It's got to be. It's got to be a yearly tradition.
We are
got to
here.
do this.
I am Ryan Wolfe, at Wolfe BLTD on Twitter, joined by the GERE Network CEO, John Cimino, at the JC Money on Twitter. How you doing today, buddy?
What is good, my man? I am here and ready to talk baseball again with you.
And we are here at the GERE Network headquarters.
Yes, at GERE Network headquarters. Wonderfully messy GERE Network headquarters. Thank you, young children.
I got myself out of the house, got myself out here. We were supposed to have Mr. Perez here. Shout out Mr. Perez, at MRLG Perez on Twitter if you're listening. He was supposed to make it today, but extenuating circumstances do not have him here today.
Yes.
With that being said, let's jump headfirst into baseball. Now, time of recording, it is March 24th. It is just a few days away from the return of baseball. And I'll tell you what, I'm very pleased with Major League Baseball doing it right this year. They have a full slate of games on the 29th, and then they come back on the 30th with a full slate of games again, where usually it was full slate of games, the next day, no games. And then they would go from there. I hated that. It was so stupid. It doesn't make sense to sell your brand where, let's get ready for baseball, and then the next day there's no baseball. It's like, well, that was really stupid.
Yes.
But they fixed that, so that's cool. And the other thing, too, about baseball this year is there are some very well-defined storylines.
Yes, absolutely.
Before we jump into our three big things here, just kind of looking down the board, you've got the Yankees loading up against all of baseball under new manager Aaron Boone, which we'll talk about in just a second. The Red Sox retooling under new manager Alex Cora, which could be a very underrated move for the Boston Red Sox.
Incidentally, manager Alex Cora on Twitter, good follow.
He's a very good.
He used to be the John Farrell Twitter. The fake John Farrell Twitter.
Yeah.
And that was my favorite. Not just because I'm a Yankees fan or anything like that, but just because it was freaking hilarious.
Just fans who take the piss out of the game, it's always good. But Alex Cora is a very, very fun guy to listen to on TV and talk about baseball. Very smart guy. The Philadelphia Phillies decide that the time is now for their push to the top. They've been rebuilding for a while now. They go out, they sign Carlos Santana, they sign Jake Arrieta. They have a very good young lineup, very good young set of pitchers. So we'll see how that works out for them. And then you have the San Francisco Giants, who have been bad for a little while now. But the reason we bring them up is because they decided to turn the clock back to 2012, thinking acquiring Andrew McCutchen and Evan Longoria will put them closer to a playoff berth. I'm not sure that's going to work out for them, which we'll talk about here.
Yeah, it just got their road to the playoffs just got slightly harder.
Just got slightly older. I guess we could put it that way.
Well, I mean, and harder, too, considering the injury, but we'll get there.
We will talk about that. Yeah, Madison Bumgarner out with a fractured hand. No idea how long he'll be out for. They say 4 to 6, 6 to 8, depending on how it recovers after surgery. But that's a big loss for them. We saw what happened last year when he got hurt. That team just kind of cratered itself. But let's talk about the three big things here we're looking at on this MLB preview cast. First off, we can't talk about baseball without talking about the New York Yankees and what they've done this offseason.
Yes, clearly we cannot.
I mean, first off, the biggest splash of the year, Giancarlo Stanton, a New York Yankee. He's acquired December 11th, 2017, coming off an MVP season where he batted .281, 59 home runs, 132 runs batted. And now he'd never hit more than 37 home runs in a season before this. But the season last year, no surprise, because he is a masher of baseballs.
Yes.
He is a power force on the field.
And let's keep in mind, too, he is now moving to new Yankee. It's still new Yankee Stadium to me.
It never will be Yankee Stadium.
He's moving to new Yankee Stadium, which is very home run hitting friendly. Since the move from old Yankee Stadium to new Yankee Stadium, you look at people like Robinson Cano and Brett Gardner, who are not home run hitters. And they were able to drill 20, 30 home runs, especially more Cano than Gardner. Gardner, before the move to the Yankee Stadium, I think at most he had 8 or 9 home runs a year. And then he's just recently coming off a year where I think he may have hit 20 home runs or damn near close to it. But it's a home run hitting friendly park. So for someone like Aaron Judge, whom himself had 50-plus home runs last year, you're taking a seasoned pro like Giancarlo Stanton coming off a 59 home run season, putting him in a very home run friendly park. I would not be surprised if that number is even higher. I don't want to say he's going to be Bonds. He's going to beat Bonds' record, although Major League Baseball would probably love that. That said, if he hits 60, 61 home runs, that wouldn't surprise me in that ballpark.
Now, looking at Gardner, just to touch back up on that, 21 home runs last year. He has hit 52 of his 84 career home runs at home. So, I mean, there is something to that. Not a lot of home runs, though, but still, whatever.
Right.
I have been seeing a lot of people, bold predictions, saying that Giancarlo and Aaron Judge won't match or won't hit over 100 home runs combined this year, which last year Giancarlo hit 59, Aaron Judge hit 52. And we'll talk about Aaron Judge in just a second. But I mean, Giancarlo Stanton, as a Boston Red Sox fan, seeing Giancarlo Stanton added to the New York Yankees lineup, terrifying. Very terrifying. But I really don't know what this does. Like, I think long term, because you think Giancarlo Stanton's in New York for a while. They're going to have to pay Aaron Judge at some point in time. Even if, I mean, because at this point, even if Aaron Judge comes out and hits 25 home runs next year, or he never hits 50 home runs again, he's still going to get paid a boatload of cash, those buco bucks, because the potential is there. And like we saw with Jacoby Ellsbury, when Jacoby Ellsbury hit 30 home runs, 30-plus home runs, should have won the MVP that year. I'm still butthurt about that. Justin Verlander was great, but Cy Young is for pitchers, MVP is for players. That's a different conversation for a different time. But you have the potential. You hit those home runs, and you'll get paid for it at some point in time. But then you think about Bryce Harper and Manny Machado. Machado has apparently been linked to the Yankees. They're saying that it's a done deal. Everyone's saying it's a done deal. I'm almost more intrigued for next offseason than I am for this baseball season, because who knows what's going to happen. But the one thing I'm wondering about, and especially it's good that we have you, a Yankee fan, here on the podcast. It's almost like I did it purposely.
Hey.
Who'd have thunk it? Aaron Boone never managed at any level. He was apparently a great teammate, knows the game. We've seen him on Baseball Tonight. He's a smart guy. Does he have what it takes to be the guy in New York managing that team? Because we've seen good managers be eaten up by the Yankees organization, by the New York media. Do you think he has what it takes?
I do think he has what it takes because, quite frankly, Aaron Boone knows baseball. His family knows baseball. He knows baseball, and he is forever for that one bat, that one AB. You know what I'm talking about in the playoffs.
I know exactly.
In Yankees lore,
the Yankees at bat against the Red Sox, that made me a Red Sox fan.
So that he has that going for him, but statistically, you look at his personality in comparison with someone like Joe Torre, where Joe Torre's personality, everybody thought Clueless Joe is going to New York to be the New York Yankees manager. He's going to get eaten alive, and Joe Torre is kind of like, in one ear and out the other. Aaron Boone is very much like that, personality wise. So I think he's going to be okay from that aspect. If Joe Girardi was able to last 10 years? 10 years. He was 10 years as the New York Yankees manager, and he made more playoffs than he missed, but he still had some consecutive seasons of missing the playoffs and whatever. And they still didn't, the New York media didn't eat him alive or whatever, or that didn't get to him. It's really not going to get to Aaron Boone. And I think the Yankees have set him up for success, especially right off the bat with this Stanton trade. And incidentally, the Stanton trade, should the Yankees go to the World Series and win it, they really need to give Derek Jeter his sixth World Series ring, because it was highway robbery.
What Jeter has done in Miami, we're not going to talk too much
Miami
about.
Fans are like, wait, what?
It's tough. I mean, there's so much they've done to Miami, but they better have a plan, because holy crap.
Well, like they say in around Orchard Park, trust the process, right?
Exactly.
So
now looking
and trust the podcast.
Absolutely, that's a nice little plug.
Cheap
there.
Plug.
Looking still at the Yankees, one more thing we have to wonder. Well, two more things. Kind of give us a consecutive question here. First off, Aaron Judge last year batted .284 with 52 homers and 114 RBIs. This sounds crazy to say, but can he turn a corner again? And I ask that because first off, he had shoulder surgery to repair what they say is a loose body, which is torn cartilage floating around in his shoulder. They fixed that problem. So he's got to come back from that. But last year, the on the surface numbers looked great. As you started to dig a little deeper, things looked very troublesome and very scary.
And this is why when you mentioned about getting paid buku bucks,
Yep.
this stat alone that I'm going to let you go ahead and recite, but I'm looking at the show notes here, which is probably why I asked for it. But when I look at these show notes and I read these stats, and I recall watching each game and seeing this and actually joking with Brandon, who is my co-host on the JC Money Show / Football Talk Weekly podcast, joked about it, but I think that this could hinder if he does not clear up any of these numbers, which go ahead and give those numbers.
You've got 208 strikeouts last year, a 230 average against left-handed pitching, and in the second half, usually after teams make their adjustments, 228 average. Now, mind you, he was dealing with a shoulder problem, so we need to find out how much of that was shoulder, how much of that was teams making the adjustment and him not making the adjustment. The home runs were about the same. He had obviously a little less in the second half, but he still hit a ton of home runs in the second half.
Right.
So is he going to be an average guy, or a guy who hits for average and home runs, or is he just going to be a guy who hits for low average but hits a lot of home runs? Because no matter what, still hitting a lot of home runs, even if you're batting 230, but if you're hitting 52 home runs, you're still. We saw what's his name, Joey Gallo in Texas. Let me get his stats up. I'm pretty sure he had almost as many home runs as he did base hits. I'll double check that and let you know.
Okay. But, what I would like to see out of him as a Yankees fan, what I would like to see out of him is an all-around game, not just a home run mashing game, because, it's fine and all for TV, but, again, when you're a New York Yankee, you are expected to win, and that's all, and the home runs, that's all fine and dandy, but if you can't small ball when you need to small ball, if you're going to keep striking out in those situations because all you're doing is swinging for the fences every single time and not being strategic with how you're going to approach the at-bat, if you don't have that, then it's really nothing. The whole hoopla is now. Again, Aaron Judge clearly liked the spotlight that he was given. He's saying the right things. He's carrying himself like a Yankee, which is nice. I would just like to see him. I'd like to see those strikeout totals come down.
Yeah, and last year, just to talk about Joey Gallo real quick, talk about strikeouts. Sorry to cut you off there. He had, I know at one point in time he had as many hits as he did home runs. Right now, he finished the season with 94 hits, 41 of them were home runs. So he hit just a little more, few more base hits and extra base hits than home runs. And let me just do the math here really quick. He actually... Yeah, I would say he had more home runs than base hits. Batted .209, 196 strikeouts. But because he hit 41 home runs and had 80 runs batted in, there's still a spot for him somewhere. So is Aaron Judge Joey Gallo, or is Aaron Judge going to be someone else? Like, is Aaron Judge going to be Giancarlo Stanton? You don't know. That's
right. That's the thing. That's the thing is I would like to see Aaron Judge more morph into Barry Bonds, because Barry Bonds was the most feared hitter in our generation. And he was an all-around player. You take the, did he do it or did he not do it, performance enhancing, whatever. You take that aside. The guy knew his game. The guy knew the game of baseball. And I would love to see Aaron Judge be able to mold into that type of player.
You just want him to take the next step without.
I don't want him to just be home run hitting Aaron Judge.
Yeah, cut down on the strikeouts. Get better at picking your spots, because he has a very big swing. We've seen that he's got a very very holy swing,
right?
And teams are taking advantage of that. But the last question, just a yes or no, because we'll talk about some predictions later. But is this a World Series or bust year for the Yankees?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, and that's a cliffhanger.
I think it's a playoff or bust. Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely, it has to be.
It's a playoff or bust. I don't believe it's World Series or bust. I would say, though, after next offseason, if the Machado to the Yankees thing is true and that holds up, and that does happen, absolutely 2019 will be a World Series or bust year. I think this is playoff or bust year.
That's fair. Well, we'll talk a little more in predictions about where we feel the Yankees will end up this season. But before we get to those predictions, we talked about the potential best team in the AL. Now we're going to talk about the for sure best team in the NL. Can anybody stop the Los Angeles Dodgers in the West? Now, they by far have the deepest lineup in the National League.
I'm sorry. Anytime we talk about Los Angeles Dodgers, Magic Johnson comes to mind, and I am a sucker for Magic Johnson jokes. So stay positive, Dodgers fans.
Just we're gonna keep the podcast Magic Johnson-less. By far the deepest lineup in the National League and quite possibly all of baseball. The Dodgers have won the NL West over the last 5 years. Averaged 94.6 wins over the last 5 seasons. Now, mind you, they had a Los Angeles Dodger record, 104 wins last season. The Brooklyn Dodgers won 105.
Brooklyn.
So we'll give it to them. We'll give the Los Angeles Dodger record. Brooklyn has their own record. For me, at this point, John, it just starts off at the top. The Dodgers have to essentially crap or get off the pot.
Yes,
trying to keep it
absolutely.
PG-13 here, but yeah, crap or get off the pot. They've been good for so long, but they can't get far enough. They were at the doorstep of winning the World Series last year,
absolutely,
and then couldn't get it.
And to kind of play off of the last question you asked me for the Yankees, is this a World Series or bust year for them? This is a World Series or bust year for the Dodgers.
I think for the Dodgers, every year's World Series.
They were close last year. They were very close last year. They set records and all that stuff. They essentially have the same team still that they had last year. Clayton Kershaw he's Clayton freaking Kershaw. It's a World Series or bust this year for the Dodgers. Do I see anybody in the NL stopping them? I mean, the Giants always play them hard, but again, Time Machine 2012. How is that going to work with McCutchen and that? And
exactly.
Then you talk about the injury with Mad Bum. The Cubbies, the Nationals. The Cubs won the World Series recently, so I guess I can't really say this to them. But like a team like the Nationals, whom on paper every year should contend and be World Series team, and they just can't do it. So honestly, for me in the NL, LA could essentially walk there. It's going to depend on how Chicago and Washington plays. And how healthy they are come playoff time.
And that's a nice little teaser for the next segment here. But real quick, just to finish up this segment, lineup remains a constant, as we mentioned. Matt Kemp is back in Los Angeles. Looks like he's going to make the opening day roster and even the opening day starting lineup. Question is, though, can Clayton Kershaw remain healthy? Because the past couple of years, he's missed regular season time due to injury. And again, at the end of the day, missing the regular season doesn't matter. But he's averaged 24 starts the last 2 years. He's about 30.25 regular season starts in 8 seasons prior. So there's a big enough gap there to wonder if maybe taking a little less off of him or taking a little more off in the regular season to push him in the postseason. Because last year he finally broke that hex on himself that he had in the postseason.
Yes. And
pitched phenomenal, he was a very big reason why the Dodgers went to the World Series.
I would almost bet, because again, when you have a talent like Clayton Kershaw, whom can deal and has historically dealt, but again, you have the injury bug as a factor with him. I truly, truly feel that you're going to see a major emphasis placed on pitch count for him, especially early on in the season. I don't see him moving past 5 or 6 innings in the first few weeks of the season. And then probably maybe during the mid towards the All-Star break, I would probably see them going down and doing the early season pitch count again. That's really what it's going to boil down to. Are they going to let him be the guy that's going to be like, no, I got this, 9 innings every game, no matter what? Or are you going to stay positive and say, no, we know what we have with our team, we know what we have with our bullpen. You're good for 6 innings.
Just got to keep,
XYZ amount of pitches.
You just got to. I think it's pitches. You got to keep an eye and make sure he stays healthy. Make sure, because it's been back problems. And, and that's tends to creep up on pitchers, especially the way he puts torque on his back. Yeah, it's just you got to keep an eye on it. You got to pay attention.
It's not being a pitcher is not it's not a natural motion. It's not a natural thing. They're constantly throwing overhand and whatever, and it's to throw that many pitches overhand is, again, not natural, hence why you see lots of people with shoulder injuries or back tightening up, things like that. If this were slow pitch softball, underhand or whatever, that'd be one thing, but it's not. You're torquing, you're moving, you're kicking your leg up, you're sliding,
Yeah.
There's just the mechanics of a pitch. There's several different factors with that. And, as a fan of pitching, I hope that he can pitch well and he doesn't get injured. I'm not really a Dodger fan, so I couldn't really care less if they lost. But in the same, as a fan of baseball, it's good when Clayton Kershaw pitches and pitches well.
Now, moving over to the predictions here, we'll start off in the National League because we're obviously both American League fans, so we'll hang on to that for a little while. For me, I've got Arizona again in the wild card game. I've got Milwaukee showing up. With Arizona taking that game just because I think Arizona is a damn good baseball team. Probably still a year or so away from making that next step into being an actual legitimate contender. But I think Arizona will definitely beat Milwaukee in that wild card game. And then I have the 4 seeds as Washington as the 1, Chicago 2, Los Angeles 3, and Arizona 4. So what do you have?
Honestly, I did not do a particular prediction like you did here.
You just have a World Series prediction?
However, I can say with just looking at what you have right now, I am in agreement with all of the teams and the positioning. There's just a couple of different outcomes that I think I have differently.
Okay, I have Washington winning and going to the NLCS, losing to the Dodgers. I have the Dodgers representing the National League in the World Series.
I will say again, picking up my World Series or bust thing for them, I will say that the Dodgers as well. I would like to see Washington in there.
Absolutely, but Washington,
I don't think that they're going to.
You have to be able to get over the hump at some point. They just can't. Unless they have some big off-season or mid-season trade where they say, you know what, we're going all in. We're going to try to win one with Bryce before he leaves. Because if Bryce Harper leaves Washington without a World Series championship, the hell's going on? Like, what have you done?
Exactly.
You've had Strasburg. You've had Harper. You've got a lot of good players. Trey Turner. You've got Ryan Zimmerman. You've got there's a kid and there's a really good outfielder, Victor Robles. He's also good, and they could potentially call up and help as a early to mid season call up, and maybe he'll spark the lineup. Who knows? Looking over the American League right now, I have the Boston Red Sox taking on the Minnesota Twins as a wild card game. Now Minnesota has made a big step. They've got a great pitching staff. They've got a great young lineup. They did lose their starting shortstop for 80 games, but I think Minnesota definitely is one of those teams where they are like Arizona. They are at the doorstep, ready to make the jump, but just being there is good enough. But I think Boston takes that game. I've got the seeds as Houston 1, Yankees 2, Indians 3, Red Sox 4.
I'm in agreement with that.
I've got New York beating the Indians. I've got the Red Sox beating the Astros, which, again, the Red Sox beating the Astros, there's 2 things here. First off, it necessitates the Red Sox being able to hit home runs and beat Houston, because last year we saw Houston rolled over them in route to their first World Series championship ever. So I'm assuming that Boston's pitching is going to be great, and that Houston will, at some point in time, the games played will catch up to them, if that even really is a thing. But really, I just wanted to see a Red Sox Yankees ALCS again. In my personal opinion, I
would like to see that, and in the scenario that you have presented here, I would agree with the outcome of that, only because of the loaded lineup that the Yankees would be projected to have. And
again, maybe the Red Sox go out, and it's hard to say without the off-season trades, all that stuff. And it's like I said, it's very hard to say. But
it's hard to predict. It's hard to predict. October baseball in April or March.
It's also very hard just to sit here and say, hey, maybe X, Y, or Z will happen. The Red Sox will get whatever. Yankees will get whatever at some point in time. You just don't know. So I think that on the surface right now, it's going to end up being it'll end up being Yankees taking the AL pennant, and you'll have the Dodgers and the Yankees in the World Series.
Which is what I'm sure Major League Baseball would love to have.
They would
either one of the either
out.
Yankees, Dodgers, or Red Sox, Dodgers in the World Series. Now, my thing is a little bit different as far as not the seeding goes, but the way that you have it here. So I agree with the Yankees over the Indians, because I don't think the Indians have done enough to be the dominant Indians that they were like a couple of years ago. The Yankees and the Red Sox and the Astros, I'm going to actually take the Astros over there.
And that's fair, because I thought, I thought that was very much a push. I think the Astros are still one of the best teams in baseball.
Right. And it's just for that. It's not I don't like the Red Sox or any of that type of stuff. It could really go either way with that one. I think it's more of to be the man, you got to beat the man kind of thing.
Selfishly, like I said, I just want that old school match.
I would love that old school match. The networks would love that old school match. The Major League Baseball ratings would be through the roof. They would be talking. I know that would be in football season, and football's king in this here land. Yeah. But they would be talking.
It would definitely be
Red Sox, Yankees would lead off the mothership.
My love for baseball has kind of died off a little. It's taken a backseat to hockey and other sports. And rightfully so, because the Red Sox have been good, but there's been nothing that's been memorable to pull people back in. Mm-hmm. Like the Yankees last year, they had that run where you're like, oh my God, is this really going to happen?
Right.
Like they kind of you get intoxicated with the feels, right. With the Red Sox, they get in, they're a great team regular season, they get in, and then they just crap the bed, and you're like, well, great, now what do we do?
I will say this, Major League Baseball has done a very good job the past couple of years really selling and drawing people in with the things that are happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that improbable Cleveland streak last year. Mm-hmm. Everybody was watching that. Everybody was watching. I mean, I would get the MLB alerts on my phone, and it's like, okay, daughters are watching, their Shimmer and Shine or whatever the hell they're watching. I'm like, sorry, boom, had to beam it up there to see. Did Cleveland win? Will Cleveland win? Will they lose?
I remember watching 4 or 5 games towards the end where I'm like, this is great, because the fans, it's mid season and they're in playoff mode.
Exactly, yes. And then the Yankees' improbable run, the rise of Judge and Sanchez, and you're kind of like looking like, whoa, okay, this is cool. But I mean, even going back to when Mike Trout was rising up, that was kind of like, it was like, hey, look at Mike Trout, look over here. Holy crap, he's doing some things, you know what I mean?
I think for me, in this, before we get to our World Series prediction, I think for me, it's a lot of just taking a step back and being, not saying I'm not a Red Sox fan by any stretch of the imagination, because I'm still a very big Red Sox fan, but being more of a fan of the game than just a fan of a team.
Yes, and that is the best kind of sports fan, and maybe it has something to do with dipping into the podcasting world and talking about it a lot, whether it's on your podcast or mine or whatever. I feel like I've done a good job of becoming an objective fan.
Absolutely.
And taking off I say this as I'm wearing a Calgary Flames hat, even though we're not talking about hockey or whatever. But in the same, I can take off my Yankees cap in a similar fashion that I could take off my Jets cap and talk about the Buffalo Bills and talk about whatever. Same thing here. And I enjoy that, being that kind of fan, instead of the fan that's like, well, baseball's on whenever my team's on, and then that's it.
Exactly. You can't do that.
Because first of all, it justifies my $100 a year purchase for Major League Baseball, MLB.TV.
$75.
Yes, $75 this year. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And that's number one. And number two, it just helps you appreciate the game more, and you have something to watch at all times. It's the greatest thing. I love watching West Coast games.
It's nice to get into bed and just turn on a Dodgers or a Giants, or sometimes even a Padres game. But like I said, just being an objective or a subjective, objective. I don't know what the hell word I'm looking for is. Being objective, being able to sit there and say, hey, you know what? Mm-hmm. The Yankees are good. I don't care. It doesn't hurt me. Or the Red Sox aren't good enough to make it to the World Series. Whatever. It doesn't make you a worse fan to say
it's how my
favorite team is not going to be good.
It's how I've got around to finally acknowledging Tom Brady as the greatest of all time.
That started for me years ago. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. It just pisses me off when people are, when you sit there and say, oh, the Yankees suck. It's like, well, clearly they don't.
Right.
Clearly your head is shoved directly up one of your orifices.
Right.
And you need to cut it out. You need to come to the terms. Like, you know what? It sucks that the Yankees are probably better than the Red Sox this year. Like, it really annoys me when the Yankees are like, oh, the Red Sox are better than us. It's like, don't try to. Who are you fooling? Mm-hmm. Who are you fooling? You have two of the best home run hitters on your team right now.
Right.
And you may not hit 100 home runs combined, but you guys are going to do some damage.
Right.
So cut it out.
Giancarlo hit a home run against the Blue Jays, by the way.
Exactly. See what I mean?
Just
See
now.
what I mean? So with that being said, in the World Series, I've got the Dodgers over the Yankees just because, again, the Dodgers are the team to beat, and they have been the team to beat. And we saw last year, Houston and Los Angeles were the teams to beat, and that's what we got in the World Series. So
Right.
I think it's New York, Los Angeles, the best World Series we could have gotten in forever because the networks will love it. And I think the Dodgers will take it over the Yankees.
I am going to say AL over the Dodgers. Whomever represents the AL in the World Series is going to be the Dodgers because, quite frankly, I'm not confident that they get over.
I think they just need to stop re-signing. I mean, I love Chase Utley; he's a great guy, but I feel like they need to stop. They need to get over having guys like Chase Utley in their lineup all the time and go out and just acquire. Because again, we've seen what Magic Johnson does. He doesn't care. Like, what's luxury tax?
Right.
Just a few more bucks out of my pocket. They'll go out and have a $200 million payroll because they don't care.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. The caveat to doing all of that and buying all of those players.
You have to win.
You're looking at what they're doing now, what the Dodgers are doing now. The Yankees did from 2003 through 2000 and when did they sign Teixeira in them? They signed him in 8. So 2000 and roughly 10. That was the Yankees' lifestyle, 2008, 2010.
You have to win.
And you have to win. And the Yankees, while they did win once in 2009, they did win that year. But, I mean, how many years did they miss the playoffs, or they missed this, or they lost here, or they lost in the World Series, or whatever?
You know what the weird part about it is, too, is teams like how the Dodgers are playing now. If they win one World Series and that's it, it's not good enough. Like
Right.
Houston wins one. Totally fine.
Oh,
they could be bad again. They got that one World Series. They validated what they were doing.
Right.
But with the Dodgers, you have to win 2, 3, or 4.
Right.
To be like, hey, now it feels like this is what we should have done. So, just go get one, and then we'll move from there.
Right. So, but I don't think that the Dodgers are going to get over the hump. So, whomever is the AL representation, and I'm torn between either the Yankees or the Astros again as to which one of those two are going to make it in. Because I really think it's going to be a really good series. Whomever represents the AL, though, I have them as the champions beating the Dodgers.
Fair enough. And looking over now, just some postseason awards, just to wrap up the podcast here. AL MVP, I've got Mike Trout because every year except for last year that he's been in the Major League Baseball, he's finished first, second, or third, I believe. First, or, let me double check that. I'm not trying to throw some fake ass stats out here.
All right,
let me just double check.
That's fair enough.
Who do you have?
Giancarlo Stanton.
Fair enough. That would be impressive. Has anybody ever done that before?
Been an AL and NL MVP?
Back to back, though.
Oh, back to back? No, I don't think that there have been. But I would like to see it, and I like Giancarlo Stanton, so I'm going to say him.
That's fair enough. I have, I believe, and I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong, but Willie Adames of the Tampa Bay Rays winning the Rookie of the Year. I've seen some stuff about him. He's not going to start the year in Tampa, but obviously once that service clock rolls around in mid-April, early May, he'll be here, and I think that he'll be a name to stay, and he'll probably be the next big superstar to come out of Tampa.
I don't have a Rookie of the Year because I didn't do my homework. I'm sorry.
That's fair. That's okay. I just figured I'd throw this on here just to see, get some predictions, because you know how bad we are with predictions.
Yes, absolutely.
On the podcast.
Absolutely.
Looking at the AL Cy Young, I want to say Chris Sale, but we saw how Chris Sale kind of petered out at the end of the season. But you know what? Even if Chris Sale kind of even slowed down at the end of the season, it's really all on Corey Kluber picking it up and hauling ass at the end of the year. And Corey Kluber was his late season performance was why he won.
Yes.
And at this point, I think it's either Sale or Kluber.
I'm going to go with Kluber on this one. And again, just seeing how he picked it up again in the later portion of the year and how he pitched in the postseason games that he pitched in, that he played in. Kluber, I think it's his award to lose.
So looking back at Mike Trout,
although it would not surprise me one bit if Sale was
absolutely
up there too. So
looking back at Mike Trout, now that I have it in front of me, it is age 19. He played in 40 games, no MVP. Age 20, he finished second. Age 21, he finished second. Age 22, he finished first. Age 23, he finished second. Age 24, he finished first. Last season, he played in 114 games, had 33 home runs and 72 RBIs, and finished fourth.
Wow.
So he's never finished lower than fourth in his career.
Well, yeah, because it was between Altuve and Judge,
Yeah,
I
he
think was the MVP.
Never finished lower than
So,
fourth. That's incredible. He's going to be a fun player to watch.
Yes.
It's like I watched and kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent here real quick. I saw there's this Facebook group. It's like Baseball King or something like that, where they just show old highlights of games.
Oh, really?
And it really pisses me off and it bums me out that I was born and started watching hockey or watching baseball towards the end of Griffey's career, Ken Griffey Jr. Just to watch him play baseball is
he was
what
a joy.
Treat.
He was a joy. I can remember when his rookie year, and he played with his father. They were both on the Mariners together, and all they kept talking was, the kid's going to be great. The kid's going to be great. And man, could you imagine those years in Cincinnati had he not been injured?
Yeah.
He could have easily had 900 home runs.
I feel like he said this before, but if he had taken steroids, he's like he would have hit 1,000 home runs.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because the thing about Griffey is the reason why I love watching Andrew Benintendi so much. Yes, Andrew Benintendi is a Red Sox, but go watch Andrew Benintendi's. Just watch like a highlight film, a highlight reel of his swings. I've not seen such a smooth stroke from a batter in a very long time.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing about Griffey. It's his stroke
swing
is as smooth peanut butter. Oh my God, it just makes me feel some kind of way.
I loved it too, and MLB The Show 17 was focused on Ken Griffey. He was their cover guy, and they nailed the swing. I tried to put it on my creative player.
Yeah.
It didn't really work out for me to have the smooth swing for that, so I went back to the Derek Jeter style swing. But it's still just his swing was just unbelievable. It was a thing of art.
What we're trying to say is enjoy Mike Trout while you can.
Yes,
because he's not going to be around forever. He'll be around for another decade or so.
Not just Mike Trout, but I mean some of the other players too. Take your hats off, take your team caps off, and enjoy baseball for what it is.
Go watch
Bryce Harpers and the Chris Sales and the Trouts and the Stantons and the Judges, and they've got names in. Baseball, to me, there's nothing like baseball.
Moving over to the National League postseason awards, just because there's something I want to mention on that topic. I've got Bryce Harper MVP.
I agree.
Ronald Acuna as Braves center. I believe he's a center fielder or an outfielder. He's going to be the Rookie of the Year. And then Max Scherzer, the NL Cy Young. He's looking to become the first three-peat since Randy Johnson did it 4 in a row from 99 to 2002. Max Scherzer is a guy that if I have nothing to do, and I want to watch a game and he's pitching, I will 10 times out of 10. I don't care if he has a great game or not. He is such a treat to watch play baseball. And that is a guy that if you have never watched him pitch, he is unfair. It is unreal how good he is. Because I remember when he first signed in Washington, they said there's no way he's going to live up to that contract. And then he just starts mowing guys down.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just game after game after game after game, and he's incredible.
Yes.
And he's great to watch. So that's another thing too. If you can't win a World Series with Strasburg, Scherzer leading the way pitching wise, and then you've got Bryce Harper, and like I said, that loaded lineup. What the hell are you doing? Go back to Montreal. I must have Minnesota. Go back to Montreal.
Again, I would love to see Washington in there. I'd love to see a Montreal team. Again, I'd love to see the Expos again, but that's wishful thinking on my end. I would also like to see in hockey the Hartford Whalers again, but things that are never going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. Scherzer, I totally agree with you on both the NL MVP and Cy Young. I would have thrown the possibility of Madison Bumgarner as the Cy Young winner, but now that he's going to be missing a good portion of the, at least the first quarter of the season, I don't know how realistic that will be, especially if Scherzer comes firing darts at the gate. And if Clayton Kershaw can stay healthy, he's in that conversation too every year.
Absolutely. So I'm just going Scherzer just because he's done it multiple years in a row. But hey, we'll see what happens. This has been a very good MLB.
Yes, I enjoy talking baseball, no matter what.
Baseball, so much. And
and under the BLTD banner too. I love the BLTD banner.
I love BLTD so much.
I know you do.
It is my child.
Wait, here's going to be a treat for you guys out in BLTD land as we start heading to take it home here. You're going to hear me yell at my dogs. Hold on just 1 second.
It is my podcast home.
Shut up, Maggie.
That'll be a nice little thing to have on the podcast later.
All right.
Just get that. And shut up and just John. But hey, I am at Wolfe BLTD. John is at the JC Money. We are at BLTD Sports, Better Live Than Dead. BetterLiveThanDead.com now. Make sure you change that up.
BetterLiveThanDead.com.
Yeah, /BLTD Sports.
And GearNetwork.com. We still have the same old stale website, but I'm working on something nice and new. So
in due time. But hey, as we always say, we are Better Live Than Dead.
You're not.
Thank you for tuning in. We will catch you sometime very soon.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the GERE Network.